Game Devs? Tony Chan here, and welcome to episode 55 of Game Dev Loadout, where I chat with the best people in our industry 7 days a week. We will learn how they got started, the obstacles they face, and the tools they use for success. Now let's chat with today's featured guest, Guy Somberg. Guy, it is game time. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Yes, he has been developing audio engines for various platforms since 2002. He has worked on everything from slot machines to AAA titles to indies and written audio engines for them all. Now he works at Echtra Incorporation. So go ahead, Guy, give us a bit about your personal life and how you got started in the game industry.
Sure. I live in the Bay Area and I have a beautiful wife and beautiful child. So, personal life, I have one, which is pretty spectacular. And I got into games. I always knew from when I was a kid, I've always known that I wanted to do video games. I grew up playing the old Sierra adventure games, King's Quest, Space Quest. I was never allowed to play Leisure Suit Larry, and having seen it since, I probably wouldn't have understood it. But I grew up with those games, and Quest for Glory, that was another big one. And kind of just knew that I always wanted to do it. And when you're a kid, you always think, well, I'm going to, make video games for a living. That means I get to play games. And that's what it is. And then you start to learn about all the different roles. And you're like, well, I enjoy playing games. And the job of a QA person is to play games, right? So that's what I want to be. I want to be a QA person. And then I grew up a little bit more and I realized that that doesn't sound actually very fun because you're actually playing broken games all day rather than making games all day. And so as I kind of figured out that I really enjoy programming, I went to school, got a degree in computer science, and kind of ignored course requirements for the purpose of kind of just educating myself. And because I knew I wanted video games, to get into video games, I was able to kind of focus my degree track in that direction. The schools like Full Sail or what's the other one, DigiPen, didn't really exist. DigiPen was brand new when I was going to college. I think they were in their second year of existence, and I was really excited about it, but my mother wouldn't let me go. And so I ended up going to an engineering school, Colorado School of Mines in Golden, Colorado, down the street from the Coors Brewery. Made the whole whole city smell like brewing beer, which was pretty spectacular. And anyway, so then I really wanted to get into video games, and I just knew that it was going to be really hard. So I just spammed out when I graduated, I spammed out a bunch of resumes. And resumes, and I got a few polite refusals, a whole bunch of ignores. And then magically, randomly, I got a call back from Blizzard North, of all places, where they had seen my resume and were interested in me. And I interviewed there, and I ended up not getting the job, but it was all right because I still I met the people, and I actually work with some of those same people now. So it's that interview has created some relationships that have lasted my entire career. But the way that I actually got into games is I kind of gave up on video games proper and took a sideline by getting a job. I lived in Las Vegas at the time, and I took a job at a slot machine company. And it's Las Vegas. Slot machine companies are everywhere. And so I had an in. No, I didn't. I take it back. That's not where I had an in. I had I just did a recruiter, just contacted a local recruiter who had ins at the video game, at the slot machine companies, and got a job there and kind of leveled up my programming skills. And that was actually my first ever audio programming job. I really wanted to be a graphics programmer. And day one, they're like, so we're going to hand you the audio code. And I'm like, ah. But then I actually started doing it, and it was really spectacularly fun, and it really clicked for me, and I kept wanting to go do it, and they're like, no, you have to work on other stuff. I'm like, but. And then, so that was just kind of my into a job that is peripherally related. But then what actually happened was I had a friend at this job who was, among other things, a 3D artist, and he was looking into the Game Boy Advance And he found that there were some really good indie development tools for the Game Boy Advance, excuse me. And we, were really close friends, and we just said, let's make a game. We'll just do it. And so we made a game. We actually got little cartridges we could plug into our Game Boy Advance units, and we could run our game directly on the GBA. It was pretty spectacular. I've used that phrase before in this speech already, haven't I? Spectacular. Anyway, so we did this, and we made a game. It was called Chess Plus Plus, and it's just chess, except we added Fog of War. So your pieces could only you'd only have visibility on the squares that your pieces could move to, which was a very interesting game. It had a lot of interesting and fun tactics that were different from normal chess. And we took it to GDC. I was a volunteer at the Game Developer Conference, and my friend, unfortunately, was not. But nevertheless, we took it, and we showed it to anybody who would stand still long enough to let us talk to them. And then one of the companies I showed it to was Backbone Entertainment. They were just at the expo floor, or the career floor there. And the guy who would eventually be my boss looked at me and said, "That's a Game Boy." I'm like, "That is. Do you want to see my game?" And so that was kind of my first in. Was I actually made a game in my spare time, and got a job making Dora the Explorer Superstar Adventures for the Game Boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite the adventure. So your mom didn't want you to go to a specific school. You had a city that smelled like beer. And when you told me that, I got really thirsty for some reason. But it said that beer, then you got to interview somewhere at Blizzard and stuff. That's a really cool adventure. Now, so your expertise is in audio, and I want to dive deeper into that. What is something we probably don't know about audio that we should know, especially in video games?
Audio in video games is to a large degree more about what you're not playing than it is about what you are playing. There's often, for games that have a really good sound mix, they have a lot of tools at their disposal to cull out sounds that would ordinarily be triggered, filter them out for the mix, for the performance, for whatever, to create a very clean mix so that you're hearing at every moment what they want you to hear and what's important for you to hear. So it's really easy to play a sound. Like triggering a sound playback is the easy part of audio programming, because there's just a function call you call play sound. But when you have 10,000 of those happening over the course of a minute, that becomes noise if you just let them all play. So you need to find ways to filter them, to create a very precise mix that is communicating what's the most important thing about what's happening in the game right now.
Interesting. So yeah, make the sound that counts, I guess, at a certain time should be the one that should be the player should clearly hear, I guess.
Right. So, for example, if you're playing a first-person shooter and you go into sniper mode, there's a lot of sounds that that you don't care about anymore. You don't care about the ambience. You don't care about the music even. You don't care about the sounds of your friends asking for help that are nearby, because you're focused on the far away. So you kind of duck those sounds, maybe even eliminate them entirely. But then you do other things, like when you're in that sniper mode, you might increase the volume of footstep sounds, because if somebody's sneaking up on you, you want to hear that. So it's not just about when sounds are triggered. It's about figuring out which sounds are the most important, what the game can communicate to you, and how you can filter out everything else.
That is really cool. I never thought about it like that before, and that is really, really cool. Oh, wow. Now let's go ahead and take this on a more personal level. And you've been working on games for a while now. What was the worst moment of your career? That one moment that's still vivid in your mind. Be very detailed and tell us that personal story.
these, I'm sure everyone who you ask this has, these feelings of deep embarrassment about their
Yeah.
story. For me, it was when I was working at Flagship Studios, I had a personal blog and technical blog, like so it was half technical, half personal stuff. And I made the mistake of identifying myself, and there came a day where a whole bunch of people kind of left within rapid succession to get other jobs because they were they were moving on, and these people all kind of sat like around me. If you could see like a floor plan, just imagine like everyone sitting next to Guy just disappearing as they're finding new jobs. And I got really depressed about this, and I posted about it. And then like the internet found out and jumped on it, and this was kind of pre-Twitter and pre like a lot of the stuff that makes such things kind of horrible, like much more horrible these days.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty bad. Like it went viral. I was getting, it was like it was, and yeah, there was. It was just very embarrassing because I was talking about things that I shouldn't have been on my personal blog, and I was identifying myself, who I was, and what company I worked for, and so it's just like not my proudest moment of like separating work and life. And like the thing I took away from that is just be extraordinarily careful, especially if you work for a company, because little innocuous things like that, if people can identify you, they can figure out where you work and what you're saying. And so the things you say online, even in a personal context, are public, and when they get out, they get out. And you can see this just recently. There was this the Google engineer. He meant it to be something internal, and it exploded, and has a huge backlash. So this is the learning that I took from that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if something happened between you and the company, you still don't want to burn that bridge. I guess you don't want to leave on a bad note. And let me ask you this: so, if people like in the same situation as you, people are getting laid off, and you might be next and stuff like that, and they want to let their personal story out there. They want to tell somebody about it because it's depressing, and it probably feels good when they tell somebody about it. Like, what do you want to tell people to go about like that, to like express their feelings in situations like that?
Don't do it online. But yeah, just if you want to rant, if you're upset over something at work, tell a friend that's not in the industry. That's not related, that's not like gonna go ratting you out to like a magazine or I guess a website or something. If you're married, tell your spouse, tell your girlfriend, boyfriend, tell the mirror. Write it down in your personal journal that is like a physical on physical paper. Just if you need to rant, like there are plenty of opportunities, but if you do it online, then that's probably not the correct forum.
Yeah, you gotta be extra careful before doing something like that online. Now that you're more experienced and you're more better, what do you think was like the best investment you've made? And it can be investment of money, time, or energy. And how did you decide to make that investment?
I think the investment that I made that has been most worthwhile was to start my own business. After I left 2K Marin, after we shipped Bioshock 2, I kind of wanted to do something new. And I got together with another friend, and we made our own company. And I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for everyone because it was a lot of work. It was a lot of money spent out of pocket. And, we had a tiny modicum of success in that my personal bank account had the same amount of money in it after 3 years as when we started, which is, as far as businesses go, that's, I'm fine with that. But I also learned a lot. I dealt with a lot. We shipped real games that people played and paid, and I leveled up a lot of my skills outside of audio programming because I was the programmer in a team of 3, and we were shipping a multiplayer game so I had to be the network programmer and the server programmer and the client programmer and the audio programmer and the tools programmer and the DevOps person and the contact for the crash dumps and, just everything, when I was kind of the programmer. And that, I think, kind of, it set me up in my career. Like I was already an audio programmer, but this opened up opportunities for me later on that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, and like you said, you're right, because I'm the same thing. I'm a new developer myself, and I just started a business, and it does cost money to start a business, but you learn so much out of it. Like you get so much experience out of it.
That's true. Yeah. So, like I said, I wouldn't recommend that for everyone. Not everyone needs to do that in order to be successful or learn. You can learn everywhere, but I kind of learned about everything and had to get really good at it really quickly. So it was kind of a crash course.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. So awesome. The show isn't over yet, Game Devs. We have reached a crunch time, the phase that is dreaded, but we are here to overcome it. Basically, Guy, I will ask you quick questions and you'll be giving us a ton of valuable information in return. Are you ready to crush it and release the show?
Yes.
What was holding you back from joining the game industry?
The game industry itself. It was really every job required game industry experience in order to get it, and you can't get game industry experience unless you already have it.
What's a personal habit that contributes to your success?
Personal habit that contributes to my success is curiosity. Enjoy solving the puzzle and figuring out not just what but why. And I don't like not knowing things, or knowing that I don't know things, and so that delving down there has I think that's the answer to that question.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Don't be afraid to say that you don't know some things. Yeah, don't be afraid. If you don't know, just say it. I don't know. It's magical words, because it's an opportunity for you to learn, and other people will enjoy teaching you.
Yeah, admit and ask questions. That's for sure. What resources should we game devs use?
Resources, any kind of resource. I guess audio-specific resource, since that's my area of expertise. If you need an audio engine for your game, audio middleware, I highly recommend. The big two are Fmod Studio and Audio Kinetic Wise, which is W-Wise, but it's pronounced Wise. They're both really good. Fmod for sure has a free indie license, and I believe Wise has as well, although I wouldn't swear to that. Then the kind of the basics that one expects: Visual Studio, which now has a free edition, which has had a free edition for a while, and for sound design, I cannot make recommendations, because if you're a sound designer, then you already have an opinion.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely link those up. Now, this next question is a bit of a doozy, so take your time if you need to. Imagine you woke up the next morning in a brand new world, and you knew no one. You still have all the experience and knowledge you currently have today. Your food and shelter is taken care of, and you have a laptop. What would you do step by step on the path to become a great game developer?
I'm trying to put myself into that universe. So it's like tomorrow, it's a new world that I just have a laptop and skills. Mm-hmm. I would find other people that this happened to as well, that have complementary skills, because I, for example, cannot for the life of me draw a straight line, even with a ruler, even on a computer with the shift key held down. Doesn't work for me. So I can't draw. I can't do art of any sort. So I would find an artist. I would find a sound designer. I would find people who are already doing it, or for whom this already happened. If I'm starting my own thing, I would find other people that this already happened that are complementary, If it's a brand new universe and there's already game companies out there, I would write down my resume. I guess it kind of depends on how much of the existing universe like already exists. Can I say I worked on BioShock 2, and they'd be like, "Oh, I've heard of that." That's more meaningful than if it's like I worked on BioShock 2, and they're like, "That's not a thing that exists in this universe." So it all depends on like the rules that you've applied to this.
Yeah.
But let's pretend that I'm going to be an indie game developer here. So that's the answer I'll give. So find the complementary people that you can work with, that are located physically close to you, or that you're all physically close together. This is important for so many reasons. You can make remote studios work, but it requires 10 times the effort and is really hard to keep up. I would start a game with middleware. My own personal preference is to find small middlewares that do one thing, rather than starting with an engine like Unity or Unreal or Crytek, which are all spectacular engines and do a lot of great stuff. But I much prefer finding a smaller piece of middleware like fmod for sound, and maybe like Ogre 3D for graphics, and there's maybe even at this point Boost ASIO for networking, and WebSocket++ for networking at this point, just because it's most convenient, and just stuff like that. So just finding, cobbling it all together, because what you're really doing is you're making your game. That's really what you should be focusing on, like not making an engine. And the thing that is your game is all the glue that holds those middlewares together. It's how you load your assets. It's what your assets look like. It's all that stuff. And so that's how it started. I would find the short answer is, first step, find other people that this happened to as well. And yeah,
I like that. 'Cause find people that I guess complement your weakness, and then choose the engine that works for you. And I like what you point out, that find people that's more local, because I work with overseas as well, and it's definitely difficult, especially with the time zone difference as well. So working locally is definitely a great idea. And if you want to work at a company, just send out your resume. That's all you gotta do.
That doesn't always work, sending out your resume.
You can't be demoralized. It just, it's part of it's a job. So it's part of the process. You're going to get turned down. You're going to get turned out a lot. I'm sure.
That happened to me.
We have reached the end. Go ahead and give us a parting piece of guidance and how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
I have little to no online presence, so partially because of this story that I told you earlier about my most embarrassing moment. So there's not really a good way to reach out to me. I don't remember how you found me.
I believe it was GDC.
It was, I guess through the GDC talk. I guess if you can find it, I have a business address there, my email address there. So, it's there's. I guess my advice is twofold. Don't give up. If you want to be a game developer, either do it yourself, or don't give up applying to companies that you want to work at, because if you're good, then they'll want you. And the other half is find your expertise. I found mine in audio programming, and that makes me infinitely more employable than had I just been like, I'll work on whatever, which is also a valuable skill, being able to work on whatever. But if you have your niche, you have your expertise, and you can say, I'm a programmer that does X. I'm an X programmer, whether it's graphics or networking or audio or gameplay, pick a specialty, and you will be more employable for it.
All really great advice. Guy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and for that we are truly grateful, and we will catch you in next time.
Yes, thanks very much, Tony.
Thank you, Game Devs, for listening, and remember that knowledge is only potential power. Execution is the game. I am so excited to announce our first sponsored giveaway with Game Dev Underground, where a winner can get a free 1-hour consultation with the founder, Tim Rusbeck. So if you have any questions on building and launching your game, get on this giveaway ASAP. This is a $1,000 value and it can be yours. All you have to do is go to the show notes page at GameDevLoadout.com and sign up for my email list. That's it. So until then, keep on making great games and I will catch you on the next episode. Bye.